Okay, we're live. Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. Yeah, so this is lesson 9. I think I might have actually forgot to change the number. Yeah, it's written as lesson 8. Terrible. So this is lesson 9. I'll change that afterwards. The kind of purpose of this lesson is really like integrating some of the stuff that we've done this week with the pelvis, but also kind of more with the fluidity or the motion of the body. So some of it's been quite structural, and I think sometimes it's really good to like change attention between some of the kind of more structural skeletal work and the kind of more internal rhythmical aspects of the body. So today's lesson is going to be about breathing. Good morning, Louise. The kind of the premise of this lesson is about kind of integrating this lower part of the body. So I've called it gentle expansion, in brackets, Dantian breathing. And for those people that don't know the term Dantian is a Chinese term. It's also used within Japanese culture to a certain extent. But it's a Chinese term that refers to an area of the lower belly. The correlation really is to do with an energy center, but I'm not going to kind of talk too much about that today. More the kind of anatomical area of the abdomen, and maybe you feel as you kind of go through the lesson that changes and you get more of a sense of the kind of energetic or subtle levels of the body. So if you do have any experience of that, then that would make sense to you. Or if you go through the lesson and you have some experience of it, please feel free to write it in the comments and I can respond. So hi, Colette. Thanks for tuning in. So what I'd like you to do initially is just to close your eyes. As you close your eyes, maybe just take a few in-breaths and out-breaths, like a few cycles of breathing in and breathing out. And just notice how your breathing is initially. Sometimes kind of as we close our eyes, it's like that puts a spotlight on ourselves in some way. And that can initially feel a little uncomfortable if we've been rushing around or our thoughts are very active. Putting that spotlight on ourselves isn't necessarily a nice thing to do initially. It does change if you can be patient with that, if you can be patient with your own internal responses, not judging them as good or as bad. It will change. Your state will change as you rest your attention in yourself. So what I'd like you to do is just as you continue to pay a little attention to breathing, maybe you can place one hand or both hands just on your lower abdomen. The lower abdomen being the part from the belly button down to the pubic bone. In terms of the anatomical location of well, it's not really anatomical, but the given location of the Dantian, it's an energy center, but they say that it's roughly located 4 centimeters width depth from the belly button and 4 centimeters depth up from the pubic bone, and then 4 centimeters deep into the body. But again, it's an energetic center, and it's not useful necessarily to think of an exact point in the body. So just rest your hand on your lower abdomen and feel as you breathe in and breathe out, how does that area move? And you can treat this like a kind of experiment, a science experiment, or some kind of, curious self-investigation. Like, how does this part of you work as you breathe in and breathe out? And don't kind of create anything, don't adjust your breathing, don't try and breathe into your belly. More so, just breathe in and breathe out, allow your breathing to happen, and give some attention to the movement in your lower belly. Having the hand there or both hands there can kind of give you some sense of the feeling of movement in the belly. But you can also use your interoception, which is your internal sensing ability of the body. Good. Okay, so just let go of that for a moment, and we'll just kind of like work on softening the process of breathing. So, what I'd like you to do is just for a few moments, notice the quality or the sensation of air coming into the nose. As you do that, as you breathe into the nose, see if you can allow the breath to be quiet. So it's almost like as you're breathing, you're noticing, is there sound to my breath? If there is sound, can I slow my breathing down and can I soften my breathing? Make it a little less intense. So just kind of concentrating on this initial part of breathing, feeling as you breathe into your nose, which for some people can be quite difficult. And this can be a really useful way of clearing sinuses as well. But just to kind of slow the breathing process down and see if you can kind of allow a soft breathing to kind of begin right from the initial point of the air coming into the body. What you may notice if you still have your hand on your abdomen, if not, you can put it back there, that despite you concentrating on the upper part of the breathing, there's still movement down in the abdomen. There's still some sense of expansion. And in some way, because you're concentrating somewhere else, it's a more natural expression of breathing down in the abdomen. Good. Can you allow the softness or the gentleness that you kind of are developing through the quality of the air in the nose to express itself in the movement of the abdomen as well? So that there isn't any sense of you pushing or pulling the abdomen, there isn't any sense of work. In some way, there's a sense of softening and gentle expanding as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, gentle contraction. But it's really subtle. It doesn't need to be a big movement. We could talk about the anatomy of breathing, and maybe I will a little bit towards the end of the class. But just for now, I would like you to kind of see if you can tune in with this softer quality of breathing in a way that allows your abdomen muscles to maybe let go of some of the tension that they're holding. This is I don't know, it's quite a vulnerable area, the abdomen. You know, even though we see these kind of external images of people having six packs and being really toned with the abdomen, it's quite a vulnerable part of ourselves. And some people have some anxiety about how their abdomen looks, or how it feels, or even some people the tension that they hold in their abdomen can have some kind of further effect on their state, their internal state, their psychological state. So just spending a few moments to kind of like let your breathing soften the muscles of your abdomen it's like, I don't know, it's a very wholesome process. Good. So obviously the breathing process is continual. So each breath, you've got an opportunity to kind of tune in with the process and soften the process. So this isn't going to be one of those lessons where we're doing a lot of variation and a lot of different things. This is just like how you tune into yourself in such a way that allows your system to, I don't know, balance, reset itself. Good. All right. So, what I'd like you to do is begin to, as you breathe in, begin to feel that the lower belly can expand a tiny bit more than you were doing. Okay. So, it's just kind of adding a little bit of expansion or a little sense of kind of muscular effort, but only a tiny amount, only a small amount. So as you breathe in, just a kind of a little bit more of a kind of muscular expansion of the abdomen. But I don't want you to go to like the limit of it, you know? So whatever you were doing naturally, whatever the movement was naturally, as you were softening and softening, maybe it was getting smaller and smaller. So adding 10% is not a big expansion. Keep that quality of softness or softening despite a little bit more muscular effort. See if as you breathe in, that you can feel that there's a kind of global sense of expansion. So it's not just the lower belly expanding forwards, there's also some sense of expansion up, to the sides, to the back, and down. So if you think about a ball expanding, it's kind of got this expand and contract. And if you think of the whole abdominal area as a ball, it's got this expansion to all sides and then contraction. As you kind of go through that process and you feel that a little bit more expansion, maybe to the front of you, see if you can tune in that the sort of equivalent amount of expansion is happening to the back. So there's some activity, there's some expansion kind of coming into towards the lumbar spine and around the sides, muscles to the side of the body. Good. Feeling maybe just that kind of that sense of expansion around the back, the sides, and the front, just for the time being. Again, kind of always kind of coming back to the area of the lower belly as a centralized point of this expansion. It's like the middle of the ball. Good. And then when you're ready, add another 10%. So add a like where you were, softer, smaller, and then you added 10%, add another 10%. And just see if you can kind of feel that there's this kind of extra room or extra potential for mobility as your abdominal muscles become softer and softer. When they're tight, it's like that's limiting our ability to breathe, it's limiting our ability to expand. So as we soften them, they become more capable. If you think about the kind of the basic function of breathing, the basic function of breathing is designed to draw oxygen into the body. The better the functions of breathing are operating, the more oxygen you're going to be able to take in, and that can have a good effect on your health. So if the muscles of the abdomen are too tight and your breathing is slightly limited because of that, that's obviously going to have an effect on the amount of oxygen you can take in. Okay, so take a little rest. Take the attention off it for a moment. Just maybe feel your feet on the floor, feel how you're sitting. If you need to open your eyes and look around your space. Because this is kind of such a detailed, subtle lesson, it's good just to have an attention break, you know, to take your attention off it, think about something else for a moment, and then come back. I think especially in this day and age where our attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter, It's really useful to just to add a little attention break in whatever you're doing. There's a technique, what's it called? Oh, I forget. So it's like a 20-minute timer that you use, like a tomato timer. I forget the name, Pomodoro technique. And it's basically designed to time 20 minutes. And then at 20 minutes, you stop whatever you're doing and you take a break. And there's some kind of, neurological reasoning behind it that it's really good at that point to take a break. But we can take a break whenever. Like a customized Pomodoro technique. Good. All right. When you're ready, close your eyes again. Just bring your attention back to that sense of breathing. Feel the quality or the flow of air through into the nose again. Just tune into that part of the breathing process and see if you can get it so that there isn't noise. So it's soft enough that the air coming through into your system is smooth and noiseless. Notice as you do that how your abdomen is responding. Has that changed from kind of where the abdomen was capable or wanted to move at the beginning of the lesson? So feel that kind of natural expansion of the abdomen. Again, round to all the different sides. So the front, the back, the left and the right. And see if you can kind of feel a uniformity of expansion. So the front isn't getting more attention than the sides, or the sides aren't getting more attention than the back. And you can feel that as you breathe in some way, it kind of like stabilizes the space of the abdominal cavity. Like it fills it up and it becomes like, a stable object for that moment with the in-breath. And then as you breathe out, it's like it lets go of that and becomes flexible and free again. So in yin yang philosophy, there's this kind of reciprocal relationship between the expansion of yang and then the turn or the changing point of the extreme yang back into yin. So you've got that function within the breath. This is where the kind of the philosophy of the Chinese systems or Chinese philosophies, really actually has some practical application. We can see that as we breathe in, there's a natural point where we get to the limit of the in-breath and then it changes and becomes the in-breath. Okay, so I think I'm back. Don't know if you guys lost me there for a moment. What I'd like you to do now is sense a little the upwards movement and the downwards movement of the abdomen. So as you breathe into the belly expands. Great. The belly expands and it expands downwards. Let's do the downwards movement first. There's a corresponding or reciprocal relationship between the diaphragm movement, the thoracic diaphragm, and the pelvic diaphragm. So as you breathe in, the thoracic diaphragm moves down And the pelvic diaphragm, as you expand your belly, also moves down. Like a big ball that's expanding in all directions. And just do that a few times. Feel the sense of breathing in that way. That includes the bottom of you. Includes the kind of the bottom of the pelvis, the pelvic floor, which is kind of like underneath the pelvis. And this sense of kind of the filling of the abdomen fills that whole area that we've been working on in other lessons this week. So you can feel the kind of shape of the pelvis, the two sides of the ilium, the ischiums, the pubic bones at the bottom, and the pelvic floor kind of runs from the pubic bones, from the ischiums, the sitting bones, up to the pubic bone. And maybe you can feel as you breathe in, there's some inclusion of that area within the in-breath. And equally with the out-breath, there's a kind of a closing or a contraction or shortening of those areas. Good. Once you've done that a few times, have a think about the upwards aspect of this movement. So if the abdomen is expanding in all directions, it has to expand upwards as well. And that may seem counterintuitive because the diaphragm is moving downwards. But if you notice, as I breathe in with my abdomen, there's a slight upwards movement of my chest. Just slight, it doesn't need to be a big movement. As I breathe in with my abdomen, my chest expands. So there has to be an upwards movement as well. Hi. Thanks for confirming, TC, and hi, Rethers. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. So feeling that sense of expansion kind of upwards as the chest opens up. So this is really where the function of breathing is quite interesting, is that as you expand the belly, it also expands the chest, allows the lungs to open more so that more oxygen can come in. Don't forget the bottom of the breathing process. Don't forget the pelvic floor. So as you're breathing in this way and you're expanding up, also think about this kind of bottom of the pelvis, pelvic floor as you breathe in, so that you're not kind of doing one thing in isolation. It's like the whole of the breathing process together. Good. And then when you can, tie in the forwards and the backwards and the left and the right. And see if you can feel this whole area expanding in a very gentle and natural way. The back of the body is included, the sides of the body, the bottom of the body, the top of the body, and the front, where we kind of normally experience the process of breathing. Good. All right. So just let that go. Let that go. Come back to the feeling or the sensation of air coming into the nose. And as you move your attention, see if you can kind of let go of any control or organization, like, kind of conscious organization of the abdomen. And just as you breathe in, notice, observe, be a casual observer of how your abdomen is now responding to the in-breath and the out-breath. Is there a different sense of expansion in that part of you than there was at the beginning of the lesson? And maybe you feel different in yourself. There's a lot of wisdom in the traditions from the East in terms of the relevance of the Dantian. And even in the Japanese tradition, they talk about the relevance of the hara, which is the whole abdominal area. And how in some way, when our mind is more settled in our abdomen, then we are a more complete human being in some way. In the kind of the Chinese system, it's like the qi, the quality of the energy is settled. It's not in the mind so much. It's not so up, and it's more settled or sunk. Qi song dantian, sunk towards the abdomen. Good. So just close your eyes and let go of any concentration on breathing at all, and just notice yourself as you sit and your sense of your own expansion, your own sense of fullness in yourself. Of course, your breathing will continue to happen, but see if you can just leave it aside and not concentrate on it for a moment. But just kind of feel into yourself and see if there's any kind of sensation of fullness or expansion. Hi, Darsatan. Welcome. So as you sit there and you expand your abdomen, or your abdomen expands naturally without you concentrating on it, see if that leaves you with a sense of kind of fullness or health. I can't stop you from saying hi, but I would ask you to. Okay. All right. So I think we're going to wrap up the lesson there. If you have any comments, or you'd like to let me know how you found that lesson, please drop them in the comment thread. As always, the videos are available to watch in my Thoughtful Movements community group, and also on YouTube, and the links to both are within the description. There is also the chance for you to share this lesson. If you want to share it, you can share it via my Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/thoughtful movements, and also via my YouTube channel if you want. There's also a link to my PayPal account if you want to make a small donations for the lesson. And tomorrow's lesson, I want to focus a little bit more on the pelvic floor, and also integrate some of the movements that we were doing earlier in the week. So if that's interesting to you, or you maybe know other people that would be interested in a lesson like that, please get them to come along. The more the merrier. Okay, so thank you. I hope you had a good lesson. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a lovely day. And take a moment as you go through your day just to kind of drop your attention down into your belly. Let your chi settle more down in your abdomen. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it. Looks like I'm going to have to clean up the comments a little bit. Okay. All right. Okay. Take care. See you soon.